Okay. Just let me know if this is being shared. Is it being shared?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Give me a minute so that why am I unable to move? Just a second, yeah, because it's a problem. Just a second, just a while. And open this. What happened to my PPT? Right.
It was visible, ma'am.
Okay, because it was in the mid of the PPT, I couldn't really. So today's lecture is all about therefore surveillance, gamification, and digital childhood. I'm sure the words will resonate well with us because we all know that what is surveillance. I don't know if some of you are aware of gamification. That is, we also have in ELT game-based learning. So how games will instantly gratify children and digital childhoods, which is a very important part of our thing. Now,
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt. Now your PPT is not visible. Are you sharing it?
I am.
It was visible, but then it went off the screen. So if you're sharing it, then
I
we are
think
not.
I'm able to see it on my screen actually. It is visible, ma'am, actually. Somebody else, because I'm able to see it when I'm presenting on the screen, I'm able to see it. It is visible. Probably I would wish you to actually recheck because every one of us is able to see. Because on my screen too, laptop, I'm able to see. Yeah, let us get started. Probably ma'am will troubleshoot it. Right. So whenever we talk about digital childhoods, we are all in 21st century and in contemporary culture, as I've been talking from day one, there is no one childhood because childhoods are basically divided on the basis of cultural and socio-political economic constructs anytime. And now in the 21st century, we not only have socio-cultural, economic, political childhoods, but we also have digital childhoods. And yes, this is nothing but we are into networks, we are digital, we are all existing, probably the children and the adults, or we are all existing in a digital ecosystem. And this is a system, this is a kind of an ecosystem that we develop where a child plays, he learns or she learns, communicates, and everything that we have been learning, playing, communicating is filtered through data. I think data-fied or datafication is one of the theories which was proposed by Ben Williamson. We will get to know that new theory in this also. So he talks about all that our lives which are completely being only led by data. Algorithms we have seen yesterday, and today we will definitely look at one of the most important aspects, that is how we as an entity exist, not only childhood, we adults as an entity exist only because of the data that is moving or passing through us anytime. The smartphones that we use, the tablets and the smart toys that the children use, they are kind of an prosthetic extensions. By that I mean that there are kind of an aids that they use so that the child's mind will definitely, people think that through all these things child minds actually grow. We never know if that really happens anytime. So digital environments turn childhood into a network existence. As I've been talking about, we all exist in a digital ecosystem. We all are networked. And by the way, not only we are networked, we are observed, we are quantified, and we are optimized also. Probably all these words are pretty much into computer systems and computer terminologies, because all these things, whenever we talk about we being observed, we being quantified, we being optimized, I'm sure each one of us know that we all have an Aadhaar card, which is mandatory right now to give anywhere as part of our identity verification. We all give our biometric in our offices, which is very important for us. And yeah, depending upon all these things that we do, that is the data, that is actually we give our PAN cards and several other cards which are very important for us. And all these things, I'm sure you all also realize that we don't really exist as one entity in this world. We are networked, we are digital, we are absolutely into we are observed, we are quantified and optimized. I think each one of us sitting here, because we all are literati, we know that we have a phrase most often we use whenever we talk about probably even the existential writers like Franz Kafka and all those writings. Whenever we talk, that surveillance aspect of our life has become too much these days, and that is the reason we also have a phrase. George Orwell uses it. Big Brother is actually watching us. Yes, we are continuously in the stare of somebody. I think I can give you one word which I have used in my PPT too. We don't have any female or male gaze now. We have digital gaze. Yes, people observe us. They get all the credentials from us. And yes, we are networked. We are completely digital mode now. even if we would wish to do anything. And I think we all are also aware of that. Whenever we do some shopping on the internet sites or on the basis of our search results, every time we log in to some browser, or for that matter we use some site, we are thrown the same material. Do you think it happens passively? Absolutely not. As I said, as I've been telling you, we all exist in a network digital ecosystem, and yes, everything is being optimized, everything is being quantified and observed for that matter. And from day one up till now, we have seen that we have moved from the idea. I think we have moved far away from the idea where Rousseau and Wordsworth were romanticizing, and they were telling that child is absolutely innocent, which really is a very wonderful idea, romanticized idea then. But now a child probably is no longer innocent. He has become an interface with the digital media. He's constantly connected, and unfortunate, they are paradoxically isolated also. In our yesterday's talk, we have seen all these things that we think are AI friends, or for that matter algorithmic companions, and all these things, they're pretty much synthetic. And that is the reason why when we try and establish a relationship with something like that, we are attached, but at the same moment we know that we are quite detached from them. It's kind of a paradox that we are attached yet isolated from all this digital media that we really use. And this is the point where we enter that new genre, that new point, that any boundary between our body, machine, and the environment. As Donna Haraway, Rosie Braidotti, and others, Catherine Hayles, effect theory by Sarah Ahmed, Sylvian Tompkins' theory to effect theory, all these things have made one thing very clear. We no longer can anytime establish a relation which is away from, or which is actually separates us from anything non-human. No, now there is nothing called as a boundary or a line. It's all blurred. And that is the reason why I use this statement right now, which says that the digital child is both user and used. He's a consumer. They are consumers, and also they are consuming. And that is the reason why probably each day when you talk to your own children in your home, you talk about how much, what is the digital footprint. And we also say that they're consuming a lot of data. That very word consuming itself is actually an indication that we are entered. We have already been going through this post-human condition of childhood anytime. And today's lecture is pretty interesting because we come across again several new theories that you can use in your analysis, not only with respect to digital childhoods or for that matter post-human childhoods, but you can use it anywhere where they're absolutely relevant. Somebody who is researching on social media, media studies, film studies, they can use those theories that I'm going to tell today. Only one theory is common that I've been talking about is effect theory by Sarah Ahmed, which stays as it is, but we have several others. And today's theories also talk about Freud's theory, where he talks about Pan-African, and he also talks about biopolitics and other things. Ben Williamson's 21st century, how things have become quite very much into digital. We will talk about all these things. But before that, I want to give you an example, wonderful example, that is today's our case studies particular text that I'm going to take, that is Feed by M.T. Anderson, 2002. This particular novel talks about how 70% Americans actually are implanted with a network, and that has the potential to deliver ads and entertainment directly to your consciousness, which was called in the novel as Feed Anytime. And when you can observe, our lives are no longer pretty much away from all this digitality. It is very understood that we are in a data field. We are absolutely we are encountering something called datafication. And this is where we have the theoretical framings of Rosie Braidotti's relational subjectivity, that children never exist isolated. We all exist in data networks. And Hayles posthumanism, we all know that our identity is right now a mix of both biological and informational. And Ben Williamson, this is new thing, he calls that 21st century child who is a post-human child as data field child, because they are produced through algorithms and analytics. And there is one particular word that he uses in his theory, that is datafication, converting human actions and emotions into data for measurement and prediction. Here, probably today's lecture must resonate with all of us whenever we talk about our likes matter to us, our social media, Insta, Facebook, YouTube, footprint matter to us. Each like that we do, each post that we acknowledge, everything is definitely converted so that it can predict what is happening with us, how are we consuming the data. So these days, Pretty much our emotions are also actually converted to a lot of predictive analysis. We analyze that depending on these many likes or depending on those many dislikes, you will be put to understanding whether the content has reached you, whether you liked it or not. Probably our human actions, emotions, everything right now are completely measured, and they are also equally predicted using several algorithms and programs which are pre-fed to all these things. And then my theoretical background first starts with Michel Foucault's surveillance discipline, the panopticon, and Foucault's Discipline and Punish 1975, and his later lectures on biopolitics with respect to the birth of biopolitics 78 and 79. What does it model tell us? And also, probably you all will have a question in your mind as to why am I talking about Michel Foucault's theory. I'll tell you how this has very good relevance with what we call 21st century. Probably you will not even imagine if I can tell you anytime that there is a lot of what I can call relevance to Foucault's theory right now also anytime. And I'm sure we all know, because we all read psychological understanding about Foucault anytime, and Sigmund Freud's also. So panopticon model talks about how Foucault himself used Bentham's panopticon model, which is a metaphor for disciplinary. How are we disciplining our children? And it talks about not that traditional way, but it is actually a modern way. How people tell us that the most important thing that we should remember whenever we talk about discipline power is visibility replaces force. When people think that they are being watched, let me tell you, they will try and nominalize their actions anytime. When we come to know that people are watching us, we behave in a certain pattern and a way because we know that they're constantly under surveillance anytime. This is what Foucault's theory talks about. And the result is we don't have to regulate anyone. We will be self-regulated, and it is also internalized because we observe, we understand that somebody is watching us and we are in constant surveillance anytime and every time. Foucault's theory talks about the same thing also. He talks about the panopticon model with respect to, as I've been talking about, Bentham's theory was only designed for prison, but Foucault extended it to schools, and for that matter, even hospitals, factories, or military use, where similar kind of a surveillance structures actually operate. He talks about how in those days probably there was a tower and all the jails were put there. There were all cells there, and one person sits here in that particular tall building, watches them. But the watched doesn't know that they are being watched. But the one who is watching always will know what the other person is absolutely doing. The prisoners, when we go back to prison designed by Bentham, the prisoners never knew that they were being watched by the observer, but the observer knows everything that is happening in and around. That is the reason why the prisoners always felt that they're being watched and they're being continuously surveyed, and that is the reason they have the habit of self-regulating their actions, and they also started internalizing it. And power through visibility. The key is not constant watching, but the possibility of being watched at any time. This is what we say, which is very important. Probably we can actually position it in our own lives. When you leave your child with a laptop or a tablet, the child is also under constant surveillance, because you can actually expect to check on him or check on her anytime possible. So your end understanding is not that you go and watch them from time to time, but they have that sense of self-regulatory behave. They definitely show or reflect whenever you enter their room, because they know that you will definitely have that lens to watch them at any point of time. And probably this is one reason why they act up as if they are being disciplined, and also this internalizes their behavior from within, because they are also under the constant threat of being watched. If not constant threat, but at one point of time they are under that particular surveillance mode. And symbolism of modern, this was existing during prisons, but now this has been, by Sigmund Freud, it has been extended to the examples or powerhouses like hospitals, schools, factories, and the military power, those of them who use the same surveillance structure. And if you observe what happens with this kind of a disciplinary power gets automated and it is decentralized. It is absolutely spread over, and at one particular point of time, you see that it is spreading and it is also automated. And shift from force to normalization. When you start talking about punishment being forced, you know that it is not going to yield any positive results. But if you try and nominalize something, it will definitely move from the stage of punishment to kind of a training or correcting the individuals without punishing them anytime. And Foucault also talks about biopolitics. Till now we have seen how surveillance is with respect to what you can call one individual or one system. But biopolitics talks about entire life being under the threat of being under surveillance. For example, power that targets life itself is called as biopower. Like our bodies are post-human bodies now. Our health is one amongst that. Reproduction, populations. All these things now not only guide us with respect to one identity. For that matter, I think in olden days, when you talk about an individual, he has or she has her own understanding of what they are. Right now, an individual is not mix of what they are absolutely there, because they are now post-human, they are fluid, they are a combination of so many things. Like how Braidotti says that, or Haraway says that we are a combination of both, our biological as well as we are part biological and part technological for that matter. That is the reason when we talk about biopolitics, it operates at two levels. Anatomopolitics, that is about human body, individual discipline, and biopolitics, entire country or entire population with respect to census that they take, birth rates, mortality rates, health, etc. And biopolitics also talks about something which is very important, governmentality, a new form of power that manages populations via statistics. That is what I was telling, census data that they collect, or the statistics, the regulation, the norms that the government, the laws that they made, the repression that is in the one individual's mind. All these things that government, the bureaucracy that operates, all these things come under biopolitics, not of an individual, but of the entire population. The main reason why all these things happen at any point of time is surveillance. They want to monitor not one aspect of your life, but the entire aspect of your life, so that they can, what you can call, normalize the behavior with respect to whatever you are, your health, productivity, behavior, everything for that matter will be under constant, what you can call, monitoring. And how is this particular concept very relevant to our today's topic, surveillance, childhood, and power of all these things in our life? Surveillance, when we talk about Foucault plus digital childhood, Foucault's panopticon model in the digital age. Now think about the Google Classrooms, the apps, the games, the so-called Kahoot and all those which we were using, or quizzes, all these apps which we were using during the pandemic. They're all modern kinds of panopticons only. All the digital platforms that we have been using, even now, I'm using this Google Meet and all this. All these are nothing but these all digital platforms are a classic example of modern panopticons. Children are monitored via CCTV, learning management, LMS systems. I'm sure each and every faculty in this group knows about all this nonsense, because every day we do all these things for our students at one point of time. We know that probably the working mothers can relate very well when they are at their workplace. Their young infants are actually monitored via CCTV. And for the students in the college, we have LMS management system, parental control apps. Yeah, I think we can definitely take an example from our daily lives where we watch, where we work as a teacher. We always send immediately as soon as the student is not in the classroom, we send a message to the parents saying that your child, your ward isn't in the class. Probably you have to check up with them. Yes, all these things are no less than monitoring from time to time, anytime. And constant tracking leads to self. We understand, but actually speaking, we are all often understanding that whenever we constantly track or do a kind of a surveillance, we are actually, it is leading to self-discipline. But let me tell you, children may not behave, may not really behave, or they may not normalize, and they may not really systematize all these things when they are being threatened with punishment. Probably they know that all these things do happen. They know that they are to suffer punishments. But at the end of the day, what really makes them irky is that they are being 24/7, 365 days being watched by all these digital platforms, which are the modern panopticons. And how is it going to affect the children? They internalize the gaze. I was talking about digital gaze that I have talked about. Yes, probably this may help young children to develop better habits from their early childhood. But the problem is they learn to perform good behavior for likes, scores, or adult approval. There is a probably each and every word that I bold here has a different connotation. They learn to perform good behavior. Behavior is something which is very innate, but because they are being under constant digital gauge and constant surveillance through these modern panopticons, they try and perform. And why do they do all these things? For likes, for scores, or maybe for better approvals actually. And then gamification, where it is a combination of both biopolitics and discipline. Gamified, I was talking about, I have one paper that I've written on game based learning for soft skills, how these games that we play in the classroom, in order to practically impart all the theoretical aspects, we use all these quizzes, Kahoot, and all sorts of mobile based augmented reality. In ELT we call it as augmented reality, and we award students with points, badges, leaderboards, all these things via games. What are we doing? We are shaping the behavior. And this is what actually mirrors Foucault's idea of disciplinary power. And all the apps, edtech systems, which turn learning into reward-based system, make our students very docile because they perform behavior, and we are also under an impression that they make them even productive too. And what is a biopolitical dimension to this? Children's attention spans, their emotions, even physical activities are quantified and regulated. Possibly, I can give you not only children, that I have to say that we can actually metaphorically imply to our lives also. The Apple Watch has the capacity to really uh, score how many steps have you walked one day, and also your physical activity, not only with respect to your walking, everything can be, and your children's attention span, emotions, every physical activity, probably even sleep trackers also we also have wearables which will actually talk about how are we quantifying all these things and regulating them. There is that autonomy, not actually that there is a child who is an independent one. No, they're constantly being regulated, surveyed, predictive analysis is also being made, and all these things just don't teach, they govern childhood itself. So now childhood is no longer being led in a happiest romanticized way like how Rousseau was analyzing it, but rather we are governing even childhood. We are also teaching, probably we are preparing a blueprint for how a child should grow from an infancy stage also. This is a condition in the 21st century childhoods anytime. And digital child, biopower in practice, childhood as a biopolitical project. Children are no longer learners, they're data subjects. And we have every minute, we have platforms that track their reading speed, sleep patterns, emotional states, attention levels. I think I spoke about all these things in the before slide only. Now you have each and every app possible working on talking about tracking and surveilling all these things with respect to how your child is actually progressing. This is biopolitics at work, managing life from an early age. And this is what is a classic example of how biopolitics is in work. Foucault's governmentality applied. Children are trained to self-optimize, track their fitness, earn points in class apps, improve their performance in all aspects. And this is a very important word that Foucault uses in Birth of Biopolitics. We are individually turning our own children into entrepreneurs of the self. We are actually asking our children from a very young age to build from scratch, to really make up their own self from their childhood onwards. This is what biopolitics and governmentality anytime has done to the very happy led childhood in earlier medieval times anytime. And Foucault's theories provide the conceptual backbone by explaining how power in digital childhood operates through constant observation and normalization, these words which I have used, rather than direct punishment. In the world of smart classrooms, gamified learning, AI caregivers, children internalize control. They mirror the panopticon by Foucault. They self-monitor, they self-gratiate themselves with respect to earning rewards, likes, positive feedback. And the idea of biopolitics completely makes a child full of data set, wherein children are tracked from the moment they get up to the moment they sleep, and everything is completely changed to biopolitics actually. Thus, when we look at the surveillance and gamification in texts like feed, which I'm going to talk today, or digital age examples, we understand that post-human childhood is completely shaped by disciplinary power coded into algorithms. So post-human childhoods in contemporary children's literature explain how power and control operate through technology. This is what I have been calling, or probably let me put it very clearly like Haraway says, identity, individual is equals to biological plus technological, or part biological plus part technological. Should you want to talk about how children or childhood is actually understood in post-human, you have to talk about how it is power politics as well as techno-politics that we play with respect to children's childhood anytime in 21st century altogether. Now, one more very interesting theory that comes into play is Giles Deleuze' postscript on the societies of control. This also talks about the power politics like biopolitics, but it shifts from disciplinary societies to digital age control societies. No longer we talk about the disciplinary course of action now, because we are in digital age, we talk about the control societies that are. And then power is continuous, fluid, and network. Once again, going back to Haraway's theory, and it is not at all confined to prisons like earlier age or schools, hospitals, or what you can call military systems anytime. It's very fluid, it's continuous, it's completely a bigger network than we think. One very important aspect that Giles Deleuze talks about is that individuals are no longer individuals, they are individuals. Why? Because he says that we are fragmented. We are looked at now. An individual is no longer considered as an identity with respect to whole organic understanding. Now we all are plotted with respect to data. That's all. We operate only through data anywhere and everywhere. That is the reason we are now not an organic part of each and every element in our body, but we are rather made up of data fragments anytime. And that is the reason the control also moves via code, passwords, and constant modulation rather than physical confinement that we really believe, and we have the freedom to do anytime. In digital childhood also, the apps, the games, and the feeds, these are the things that govern our behavior through incentives and access, and never punishment. For that matter, I have to give you a simple example. Even if you would wish to, probably your mobile phone will give you an option that you can open it via biometric also, that it can realize your pupa, your pupil, or for that matter, your face or anything. Also, it gives you one more option of password. I don't think so. A person who is operating their own mobile phone anytime has to have all these 1, 2, 3 level security that they have to maintain. But because we are encountering day-to-day digital fraud, or for that matter, digital cyber, what you can call cyber security is very low. We all are operating through code only, passwords only, and constant modulation. Probably this is a wonderful example where we can say that no longer our children or us, both of us equally, are being operated by a punishment, but we are governing our own behaviors through incentives or access. You make a payment via Google Pay, you are definitely about to get one reward for that. So even we are being encouraged to do that, because we are in datafication processes, because we are operating through algorithms, passwords, codes, programs, all these things which are quite networked over digital age. And then individual becomes individuals. That is what I've been talking about. Traditionally, individuals are whole, organic, unique person. We have our own USP, unique selling point, unique special features that we have. But these days, as I've been telling you, we are all we are plotted via data fragments. As and how the technology advanced, individuals are no longer understood solely as whole beings, but we are divided pieces of data, behaviors, preferences, biometrics, etc. This is what I was talking all the way. Fragmented into data points, the online activity, the spending habits, the health records, GPS location, social media interactions, all these get broken into separate trackable data points. And this is what circulates in our network via algorithms or programs anytime. These data points move through systems like marketing platforms, government databases, insurance algorithms, surveillance systems, and much more, and many more. One is no longer interacting directly as a person, but as a set of metrics or categories within the systems. I think none of us sitting here can deny anytime that we are actually through all these things, and we are circulating ourselves not as a physical person anymore. We all have, by the way, probably there comes a day when we are not referred with respect to our names, or only with referred to our Aadhaar names, Aadhaar numbers, or our PAN card codes, or probably the government may come up with something else which will definitely tag us, not as an individual with respect to our physicality, but with respect to the numbers, data, tracking systems, or data points that we are absolutely anytime actually given importance. And this is one more theory after Michel Foucault's theory, and we have seen even Giles Deleuze theory. We have one important theory called Ben Williamson. He talks about the use of big data in education, the digital future of learning, policy, and practice. Education is increasingly shaped by data infrastructures, explores the impact of big data, algorithms, digital technology, and learning, policy, and practice. We don't have to definitely negate this statement, because even we, the language teachers, are supposed to learn, equip ourselves, and definitely know what all algorithms are being given to people these days. We are expected to learn Python also. We want to learn NLP, natural language processing, and all these data, AI, artificial intelligence, we are also supposed to learn. Education has become a site of all these things. And yes, data is only leading all of us anywhere and everywhere right now. Students are transformed into datafied subjects. Their actions, their attention, their emotions, everything is recorded. Probably that is the reason why these days emojis are in great demand, and some kind of what I can call codes and everything is pretty much in vogue. People no longer have to use language for that matter. Think a small code is pretty much enough to really understand what are we feeling and what are our effective fallacies also. Learning analytics quantify engagement, behavior, achievement to predict future performance. We are not only bothered about what's happening right now, but we are also bothered about predictive analysis, what happens in the future. Everything has become quantified these days. And this is the quantities that we create are nothing but algorithmic governance, where education system is also being guided by data models rather than teachers. I don't have to deny, we all being teachers, we sometimes really ponder upon what is our existence in this data world anytime. We, the humanities, have no longer have to teach anytime humanity, because all these things that we see these days are completely filled with algorithms, programs, and data actually. And that is where Ben Williamson comes up with one very interesting child called data field child, who is measured, optimized, compared, and also definitely they are losing their autonomy in favor of efficiency. No autonomy as a physical being anymore. Rather, you are very efficient as a person who can be termed with respect to data and numbers. And I have given a simple, what I can call a table of the concept and the explanation which I've been doing till now. And I have connected it to Foucault's theory, how it extends and all these things. This is a simple table that I have made it. If you didn't follow, you can definitely understand by this also. So from this, what I want to conclude is children are not just learning, they're becoming data objects, data subjects. And that is the reason probably Ben Williamson came out with a word called data field child, datafication also is what he comes up with. And platforms govern learning, behavior, and even effective stages. Our mood, our engagement, our thinking patterns, all these are pretty much datafied now. And children internalize systems of measurement, competition, optimization early on, forming what Williamson calls as learning as performance culture. And I'm sure each one of us know that whenever we talk about learning now, we ought to give something called the rubrics part of it as to how we are assessing them with respect to data. And learning is no longer organic now. Learning has become a duty, or for that matter, it has become performance culture anytime. And there is one more very interesting theory called by Shoshana Zuboff, wherein the age of surveillance capitalism has entered. Probably we all can connect very well with it. Big tech companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon, and this is what I've been talking also, exploit personal data to generate profit, creating a new economic system, which she calls as surveillance capitalism. And the key concepts that you use, probably I don't have to explain this, because whenever you have to shop, whenever you have to create a Google account, whenever you have to log into your Facebook, you know that you have to give your credentials to log in and use whatever you are trying to use over this digital platforms anytime. So we are under the threat of surveillance capitalism. And what does she mean by surveillance capitalism? This is a new form of capitalism where personal data is extracted, because that becomes a resource for people to analyze and predict what are we going to do in the future. Behavioral data, what do you do, what you click, what you search, what you say, without your permission. It's actually taken by these very big companies as part of their primary data, so that they can actually throw those kind of a content and stuff to you. And this is, as I've been telling, this data is then used for predicting your future behavior and how it is going to influence their profit depending upon how are you going to react. She also talks with respect to behavioral surplus. Tech firms collect more data than needed to improve services. And this surplus, this extra and excess, is sold to advertisers, insurers, political campaigns, etc. And this is where users are not the product, but their data is absolutely the product that is being sold over the social media. Instrumentarian power, a form of power that doesn't coerce or punish, but nudges and modifies behavior using data. Probably in the digital platforms, there is nobody to punish you. They are only to internalize and modify your behavior. That too, not by admonishing you or punishing you with any kind of a physical or mental punishment, but only using data as their weapon anytime. Unlike Foucault's disciplinary power, this is about prediction and control without awareness. That is what I was telling you. There is nobody going to control with respect to disciplinarism anytime. They control you, they predict your future moves without even you aware of as to you are being surveyed, your data is being used. You as a person is not important, but what credentials you give as part of you is much more important to them to generate their profits. Prediction and modification. Machine learning algorithms analyze user data to create predictive models, and these models future actually shape our decisions as to what we buy, who we vote, and all these things. And that is the reason probably during the elections, we get a message on our mobile phone. I don't know if anytime any one of you have ever thought, how come when you try to log into your Google browser, and yesterday you have searched about probably saris and all those things, and today too, the first ad that you're thrown while you're browsing is about saris. Absolutely. How do you think all this happens? This is all is happening because your data is being captured without you being aware of that. You are not important, but your data and credentials are always important. And that is the reason why there is a breach of privacy and loss of actually autonomy. Constant monitoring will lead to losing your agency as a person anytime. You are unaware of how you are being analyzed and manipulated anytime. And so-called democracy, freedom is at an actual grave stake because these private firms are publicly controlling our behaviors, even our discourse is being actually altered by them because they know what are we doing, they know what we are more than us, because they've already predicted us as to what are we and what are we going to do in the near future to come. And then this includes not only adults but also children. I'm sure yesterday's picture, if you are able to see, every child right now also has multiple accounts they create with respect to one on the Insta, one on the Facebook, one on the YouTube, or for that matter, one on different chatbots, whatnot they do. And unknowingly, unfortunately, they are becoming participants, probably sometimes consciously also, sometimes actually unconsciously too. And this is how even their data is being extracted through, but they have a different mechanism through devices, through toys, through platforms. I have spoken about all these things in my previous talk, and that is the reason I would comfortably say digital childhood becomes commodified attention, where play and emotion feed predictive analysis. I must tell you, probably we all have our children on Amazon. You just go and search for your children's toys. I'm sure when you go back to any other browser also, the first thing you may be thinking that one particular platform has got your data that has nothing to do with the other browsers. You're mistaken. Once data captured is captured, and the ads that they throw and the content that they throw is only because that they have already captured your data, and they know that your intentions are this and you're going to only buy this, and they had a wonderful feed of what you all are, what are your emotions attached to, and they can make a very good analysis of what is expected of you in the near future anytime. And if you put all these theories together, we can explain that digital childhoods are governed through continuous control, not human control, but digital control, and algorithmic datafication. Yes, they're completely under the data being monitoring them, flowing through them, and corporate surveillance turning learning and play into systems of managed behavior. So there is a lot of digital control, and that is the reason children now, for that matter, even adults too, are under digital gaze anytime. And then, very important, I have already discussed this, Sarah Hamill's theory, effect theory, where how she talks about that our emotions are in complete circulation with respect to the digital platforms that we use, because our feelings, our emotions, our data is already stored. Not only stored, it is ranked also, and it is also displayed via emojis, which I have been telling you. the likes, the reactions, each and every simple, common, normal, what I can call, otherwise also very basic digital footprint that you have is definitely going to have a very big effect on you, because your data is already fed into multiple platforms and it is under continuous circulation as a person you are with respect to the digital networks that you develop anytime. Children learn emotional expression not through face-to-face empathy but through algorithmic effect loops. That is, to feel is to be recorded, analyzed and responded. You ask your children right now what makes them really happy, they will tell you for sure at least one instance where they say, for my post I got 20 likes and this says I'm so happy. Now everything has become so synthetic and their emotions are also actually being manipulated, surveyed by all these algorithms, because for them now emotion is also quite felt, performed, not real anytime, because they know that their real emotions, their real understanding comes only from the likes that they have, the kind of a, what you can call, whatever is being done on the online with respect to likes, emojis, reactions, all these things, they're only actually going to make them so happy. Now this is very important thing. I'll list all the theories that I have listed and what is their core idea and how we can relate it to our topic, that is surveillance, gamification and digital childhood. Going with Michel Foucault, he talked about how power moves via surveillance, discipline and normalization, and digital platforms act as panopticons. Children self-discipline via gamified systems. Yes, this is the reason why Foucault is of the opinion that you don't have to really strive hard. These digital platforms are potential sources that children get self-discipline because they know that they are being observed, if not from time to time, but at one point of time. And Ben Williamson, data application, platformization, and algorithmic governance, children become data points. Not only children, we all have become actually data points, because as I've been talking about, we all are actually fragmented. We are actually divided, distributed. We are fluid, and we are only measured through data fragments these days. And platforms that we operate knowingly, unknowingly, they monitor our behavior, they optimize, they internalize our behavior also. Sushana, she talks about surveillance capitalism exploits personal data for profit. Of course, there are so many types of capitalism, and now we are in a digital capitalism wherein we are surveilled for the companies, big companies, to earn profits. Children's data is harvested and used to predict and shape behavior without awareness. Probably not only children's data, everybody's data that we give, unknowingly, knowingly, they harness it, they use it for predictive analysis so that they can develop on their profits in the near future. Sarah Ahmed, cultural politics of emotion, have emotions are circulated, and stickiness, which I was talking about when I was dealing with effect theory, and digital platforms circulate effect via likes, emojis, and reactions, shaping not only children's behavior, but also societal norms, because as I've been talking about, we all are operating via algorithmic effect loops. That is, our feelings are recorded, analyzed, and responded. Then surveillance childhood, watching and being watched. The modern child lives under multiple gazes: parental gaze, institutional gaze, algorithmic gaze, and also digital gaze for that matter, anytime. Surveillance is embedded into both protection and play. In literature and media, this appears as the child who is always visible, uh, both for care and control. Examples: Feed by Anderson, neural surveillance, that is via what you can call. There are some. Yesterday, I've been talking about one theory, one person who is living, who has an antenna attached to the brain, to the mind. This particular novel called Field also has a neural surveillance. Thoughts are converted to advertisements. And Black Mirror, this is Archangel 2017, maternal love. There is one mother in this particular, I think this is an OTT series, by the way. So mother, she wants to 24/7, that is 365 days, wants to surveil her daughter. So she has some kind of a, what you can call, mechanism or kind of a, what I can, physical machine she uses so that she can monitor her child anytime and every time. Clara Anderson, yesterday we had a very wide discussion as to how Clara's gaze itself is very algorithmic, which means that Clara is known for her observant power, and that particular power she has of observing things is actually the data that she captures. And gamification as a pleasure, pleasure as power. Gamification refers to, as I've been talking about, how use of games in the non-gaming environments are given rewards, scores, badges, and also we show progress bars for that matter. And post-human child operates in a soft disciplinary system. What do I mean by that? What is absolutely being gamified is actually regulation that they have. What they think they are actually enjoying with respect to playing is nothing but we are regulating them, but not in a very stricter punishment basis way. It's very, very soft using the data we do that. The child internalizes corporate goals as personal motivation. Probably everybody can resonate with this. We all are rearing our children only to catch up and be in that rat race of internalizing the corporate culture. And we also tell them from time to time, this is what motivation actually means, that you have to achieve that, you have to achieve this, you have to become so big to earn, you have to really have all those what I can call comforts in your home, which are again only put under rewards, which are actually a kind of a what you can call again regulation control that we have in a very soft way possible anytime. Foucaultian reading, just as Foucault's discipline subjects learn to regulate their own behavior, the gamified child is taught to monitor their progress, emotions, and failures. Just a while ago, I spoke about this. You will become big only when you have all these things with you. And you're called a failure when you don't achieve all these things. And it was good that at least Foucault was talking about how all these disciplines were taught with respect to physicality, but now it's more of a mental play, because we have the habit of probably datifying, quantifying everything with respect to even emotions, failures, and successes in our life. Delusion reading also calls for modulation. The subject is continually optimized, never finished. Learning and play are endless processes of self-correction. Probably now is the time, I think, that young mothers who are there in this particular platform, or young researchers, when we talk about the games that we give, the Lego toys, the games that we play with our children, for that matter, we put them to, are all continuous process of self-correction only. Probably you may not like your child building a Lego using those Lego, what you can call, pieces, building something that they want to, but we know that this is not what they have to. You correct them, you modify them, you bring them back to what you wanted them, what you want them to do anytime. So this is a process of continuous correction, wherein child sometimes even will not realize as to what are they doing and what you are doing to them anytime. That is the reason I was telling you, this particular digital child is not only a user, they're also being used. They not only are comforters, but also they are comforted with all these artificial panopticons that we are using against them at point of time. And this is what in ELT we call behavioral psychology by Skinner, who says that your rewards are in line with the behavior that you really are complying with anytime. Examples: Feed is one novel. Teenagers constantly seek entertainment, and that actually becomes their pleasure point most of the times. And yeah, probably if they have to obey well, you will always tell them that, okay, you have this 1 hour time where you can only be on your mobile phone, you can watch it and all these things. Probably nowadays children are completely into data mode, digital mode, that no longer they feel happy with respect to gelling with people, but only with respect to what I can call machines and all those things which make them really happy. Ready Player One, this is an OTT one, depicts a gamified virtual world where identity, behavior, and sociality are mediated to digital avatars. I have given one presentation paper to one of the University of Oxford, Trinity College London, wherein they had this wonderful theme called metaverse. Probably we all have so many avatars. Even on your mobile phone, you have a digital avatar on WhatsApp also. We all have multiple identities, multiple behaviors across different platforms, and we socialize differently over different platforms also, for that matter. And this particular Ready Player One talks about all these things, how people are not what they are, because they have a different versions of what they are over different platforms anytime. And this is where the game world blurs economic survival, turning play into labor. And this is how Children even struggle sometimes to really earn points, rewards, and all those things, and they play using a lot of their brain and all those things. Again, not to serve their purpose, but to really make companies who are manufacturing all these gaming apps and everything to earn profits anytime. And this is how they blur that constant line between what we are as a person, or probably as Ben Williamson and Sarah talked about, we are continuously in producing something called digital commodification anytime. Datafication and the loss of embodied play. Traditional childhood is completely lost. We no longer give importance to imaginative, sensory, and physical child. We are completely informational. Our avatars matter, our points matter, our screens matter. Code replaced people, and our tactile interaction anytime. Hayles' theory of information and embodiment, which we already discussed, talks about how we are part human and part techno, for that matter. And we don't really interact with physicality. Our body is interacting via algorithms anytime. Mapping our emotions, the quantified self. Digital childhood also produces a new effective economy, the quantified self, where emotions are tracked, analyzed, and shared. And Ahmed's theory, Sarah Ahmed's theory, and Tomkins' theory also talks about how our affectations, our emotions are continually circulating, because I was also talking about how no longer we are happy, we are performing the basic functions of our emotions also anytime. And this is where digital platforms have become emotional optimizations. We need those badges. We want those likes. We want those scores. All these things to make us happy anytime. And that is the reason emotions have become measurable and the child learns to perform. This is constantly what is being told by me with respect to digital surveillance, that children are now performing. They don't have any attachment with respect to feelings because they are completely datafied. And then there is one very interesting text that I want to discuss, which is called Feed, which is being discussed with respect to the theory, core idea, application, and implication on the post-human childhood. When we talk about Michel Foucault's panopticism, we are talking about surveillance being internalized. Power operates through visibility and control. And in Feed, as I've been talking about, there is a neural system attached to somebody's brain, and that will throw entertainment, ads, and this is nothing but teens are self-regulation. They're self-regulating because they're also under constant surveillance to the neural attachment they have on their brain. And this is where we talk about childhoods becoming more disciplined and self-monitored. Control is normalized through pleasure. And then Ben Williamson, datafication, children and learning turn to measurable data. The teens' thoughts, choices, emotions are commodified and tracked. And as post-human childhoods talk about, child is part data, part human. And then Shoshana Zuboff's surveillance capitalism, behavior modification for profit, and the feed manipulates users' emotion to drive consumption. That is what I've been talking about. This is a wonderful novel which talks about how ads are thrown, entertainment happens to the neural mode, wherein they know what are you trying to search. Based on that, they will throw everything in that particular novel. Childhood becomes a marketplace now. Identity formation is shaped by algorithms. Catherine Hayles' informational embodiment, self as data, code is purely data-fied rather than biological. In this novel also, teenagers are informational selves. Their emotions and thoughts processed as code. Childhood shifts from biological to technological informational now. Sherry Turkle's illusion of intimacy, technology simulates emotional closeness without authenticity. That is synthetic nature of our bonding. Teens' relationships are meditated by the feed. Connection replaces empathy. This is what is the new norm now. Connections, data, or information is replacing our empathy levels and emotional levels also. Absolutely. Same thing happens in feed also. Emotional development becomes simulated. Empathy is algorithmically structured. Foucault, freedom within systems of control. In feed, we have a character called Violet. They are rebellious, and and physical failure of our feed system. At one point of time, let me make it very clear, how much ever we rely on technology, probably over reliance will only lead to breakdown and completely system coming down. That is what even yesterday's we have seen. Sherry Turkle informs us that with every technological advancement that you have a warning that you are becoming synthetic, and every possibility that things at one point of time will completely come to a collapse. And ethical resistance, reclaiming the human through breakdown or a future of technology. That is what I said, that at one point of time, there comes a instance where you say that technology or compute reliance on technology is not going to help us, because everywhere we are part and parts of the humane feelings, empathetic feelings that must be there within us to operate still in the human mode anytime. And there is one more case study, that is Little Brother by Cory Doctorow, 2008, wherein this is a young adult novel set in San Francisco, wherein we have a teenage hacker called Marcus Yallo. After a terrorist attack, the government forces enforces surveillance, and there is a strict control on digital communication. Marcus uses his tech skills to resist authoritarian oversight and reclaim freedom for himself and his peers. This very small, very engaging novel, which is on young adult, it talks about surveillance, it talks about gamification and control, digital childhood, agency, ethical questioning as to whether all these things are really necessary, and how inevitably we are being algorithmically governed. All these things come into play in this wonderful young adult novel. It is Little Brother by Cory Doctorow. What all I've been talking about, you can definitely feel that they are placed under this particular novel. One can definitely go and read it from a post-human understanding also. And then what is there for us in the future, dystopian futures of the future. We can see that we are completely post-human children's literature is full of control, disconnection, simulation, and literature is a potential way that mirrors the constant life that is happening in and around. And the more we are going to rely on this, the more is the risk that we are attracting, which will transform that innocent, romanticized childhood to completely programmable systems anytime and every time. You can see that there is a lot of surveillance. I have talked about all this data-driven society, digital gauge from Feed by Anderson, emotional simulation, Clara Anderson, yesterday's thing, Ready Player One, which again, education gamification, where even learning has become quantified and gamified, and child is no longer human, it's a completely commodity. So all these theories which I've been talking are positioned and intersecting with these novels. And what is the conclusion that we can understand when we reimagine the post-human child? In simple words, we are under surveillance. Gamification is only reshaping childhood. We are teaching children to quantify everything. These days, they are not growing naturally, but very artificially, because they are performing childhood anymore. And as I said, children are no longer innocent. They're cyborg in entity, part data, part human. And this particular new form of childhood is completely networked. We are intertwined with digital systems that monitor us, that have a great surveillance, that classify us, that influence us in myriad ways possible. And post-human childhood calls for a new ethical perspective, one that resists viewing children merely as data points or nostalgic symbols of purity. It's very important that we no longer consider children as data fragments, but rather they are also sometimes and at times symbols of purity anytime. Children should be recognized as relational and effective subjects capable of resistance. Yes, one should definitely thwart a lot of digital control and surveillance, not only child, it's even adult too. We should have that resistance. We should have imagination beyond algorithmic constraints. Let me tell you, whenever we talk about AI, it is HI which is operating. So human intelligence has more power when compared to AI programs or artificial intelligence anytime. Empathy, which I have told in my previous slides also, it's very important that empathy cannot be simulated. It is within us, and it cannot come only via digital interactions anytime. But I think we should also really make it a point to look at empathy even coming from digital interactions also. And this emphasizes that we should definitely honor children's agency, because they have got that emotional complexity even in the digital age anytime. Let us not really synthesize everything and make it really artificial, or probably, as I've been talking about, we should resist this artificiality, and we should think with our human intelligence, and let us be empathetic and honor that there are childhoods which are beyond post-human, that is, their agency is very emotional, and it is which is very, very natural also. So I have taken my readings from all these that I have talked about today, and this brings me to the close of today's thing. Probably today's session itself is completely datafied, because we have understood that it is all completely filled with data anytime and every time. So now we are up for questions anytime. Thank you.
Ma'am, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
I want to share one small thought. All of a sudden, it came to me when you're talking about empathizing.
Yes, ma'am.
Charles Babbage, in his essay, he told, because we all know that he invented the computers, he himself told that, technology will never, human beings can never be replaced by technology. I think that is what. So you're saying that that's what important for everyone, ma'am. When we can't have empathy, when we don't have sympathy, there is no meaning in the life that we are leading. That is what the real meaning of human beings. That's
Yeah.
what I have learned, ma'am. It's fantastic, ma'am, listening to you.
If I have to point out, ma'am, probably my topic is post-human childhoods. But I think whenever I talk about, or when I have been talking about, or when I talked about all these things, I always had an element of caution to all of us that we may be, and probably what is the society that is being mirrored now is completely post-human. But as Madam has pointed out, and I have been doing, let us not lose a touch of empathy anytime, because we as human beings are classified like that. How much ever we need not think that we are the only beings, because we operate with a lot of non-human things too. But let us not really completely decenter the humanism, because we are not omnipotent, yet we really have a lot of environments that we really interact with. But yet I must say that we are so-called human because we have that element of empathy and humaneness in us. So not leaving it out and not really leading those synthetic lives, let's really come together, that in spite of operating in all these things out of our necessity, let us not lose the touch of being what we are anytime. So let us have that empathy with us, and even all these things also talk about ethical AI. So let us have that ethics in us anytime. Thank you so much, sir. Sir is asking me, ma'am, are there any pedagogical studies that can help children navigate or resist the pressure of this complex world of surveillance? Sir, as I've been talking about, if I have to talk about pedagogical strategies, we as English teachers, we only always talk about one thing, that is contextual learning anytime. So in ELT terms, probably we say that as you have to engage your learners with respect to cultural understanding also at times. So it's important that we give them a personalized teaching environment that really brings them a little away from this data and the digital tools that they really use. But how much ever I tell you, because our children these days are data fight, when their attention span is only 5 minutes, sir, I think the entire English fraternity for that matter, because I know that we are all English fraternity right now, we have to come up with a different modes of teaching, which is very, very important for us. Probably there is no alternative, that we also at times use this AI in our teaching, but let us not completely make it data fight. This is my take, because whenever I give assignments in my own classrooms, I make it a point to add a bit of AI, but not completely AI, but 90% HI plus 10% AI anytime, because we should not let our students also lose out of all these technologies which are being developed, because at the end of the day, as a teacher, it is our responsibility to build the gap between the academy and the probably the outside world that they go for their jobs as such. So this is my take, and probably it is us who have to now come up with new ways of giving them assignments also, so that we can appeal to them and we can definitely interest them in our own classrooms. This is my take. As I say, you can have different ways through. Contextual learning is what we say. Any more questions, ma'am? That's a wonderful question, because we all are English teachers for that matter. And surveillance, sir, I'm sure that you and I also have our own biometric in the college, all those what you can call passwords. So we can't actually, then that is the reason I completely say I go by George Orwell's thing. Big Brother is always watching us. If we like it, we don't like it, even then we are being surveilled 24/7. So there's no escape. Any questions?
So, ma'am, I've been listening to you, and so thought-provoking it is. So one thing that is coming to my mind is children are now on an average reaching puberty early. So actually, maybe can you comment on this actually, that excessive exposure to screen and these digital platforms is reducing the span of childhood itself? Because as you said, they're constantly monitored. So digital capitalists view them as prospective adult customers, and they are unconsciously being feeded such content that makes them become adults faster, sooner than later, so that they can be consumers, like, for instant gratification of the capitalist and the industries around us. So do you think that it can be a socio-psychological phenomena?
That's a wonderful question. Probably I'll ask you, ma'am. I don't know if are you a mother, for that matter, if I can ask you?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I'll ask you one question. Do you think who is intelligent when in a comparison to you and your child? Who knows a lot of technology when compared to you and your child?
No, as of now, I do, but of course she'll grow up to be more tech savvy than I have been.
No. One more thing I'll ask you. Does your child, even if they are 3, probably an year old, if you can think of, don't know what is mobile phone?
Yeah.
That's all. This is the answer. That you like it, don't like it at one point of time. Like Riya sir asked really wonderful question. Ma'am, is there any way that we put them out? You suggest me as a parent. Do we have a way out?
It's very difficult.
It's impossible is what I can say. Because at one point of time, because we are datafied, and they have become the potential sites for datafication. That is the reason I've been talking about. How much ever all these things play. And now, one more thing I can tell you. There is a new punishment that we give our children, right? We don't cane them anymore. We will tell them that if you listen to me, and even when you're feeding your children, what do? You either show them a TV serial, for that matter, soap opera, or you'll put rhymes on the mobile phone. Don't we do?
So what I have been doing as a very hyper-aware mother is actually keeping her away from the screen. But she's 5 right now, but as she's 7, as she's 8, she's going to lose out on a very essential part of something that her peers are engaging with. So I can control it only to a very limited extent, and maybe for another year or two. After that, she will again start feeling like there is something missing, something organically missing from her, even though it is very inorganic and synthetic that she's craving for.
Exactly.
So it's really a very post-human growing up, I guess,
And probably this is what prompted me to give my title also, Posthuman Childhoods. We cannot deny, ma'am, because we are absolutely in that. And one more thing I'll ask you. Now you cannot deny this. Does your child have a passport?
No, not yet.
There are a few sites. There is a condition wherein if you are migrating to other country, you are supposed to definitely have your child's credentials recorded with the government. Now you tell me, and okay, as soon as the childbirth is actually done, you deliver a baby. Don't you think that all her credentials are already recorded with the hospitals?
Yeah, ma'am. Yes.
Then how can we deny that our childhoods are probably our credentials? We have become a potential market source, aren't we? Our data is recorded from the moment we are born. We are tagged, ma'am. By the way, when we are born, the child is tagged with a unique number in the hospital itself. Can we deny that?
No, even as soon as we conceive, there is a market for pregnant mothers.
Exactly. All those women's products that we have, very, what I can call soothing, and that wonderful advertisement that are thrown to us. See, because they know your data, they feed you only with that kind of an information, ma'am. That's how it is, absolutely. And that is why it's important for us to really understand, you will like it, you don't like it, at one point of time we end up. But as mothers, as fathers who are in this particular forum, I would say that let us at least have a boundary. Let us not really blur that line as to who is who and watch what. We never know. And I'm sure probably when during the pandemic, when the alchemist has made all of us realize that whatever has happened in the pandemic during COVID has already been oracled by the writer. We never know what all text that we are reading in this particular FDP will come true in the near future also. I'm sure probably we all will have an antenna, and we are all also thrown everything absolutely. I'm damn sure that this is definitely going to happen, because I understood what I have been teaching and talking and reading, that we are up for a very dystopian world. I don't know if somebody will agree with me. The only thing we can do is to be positive. Ma'am, will Clara and the son be considered under the category? Absolutely, ma'am. Though this is not to be considered completely, but because childhood is taught there, this is a very good potential source of being children's literature as such. It can be clarified under various levels actually, because no one text can be read from one way anytime. You can definitely locate it with respect to all these theories, which I have done in my previous sessions also. Potentially, you can look at it. Anything else, ma'am? One honest thing that I would wish to ask you all, out of all the 4 days, probably have you all learned at least 1% of what's being taught, and we really have come across a lot of theories too. Probably I wish every one of us implementing them in our research papers to come. I hope I have really added at least 1% of wisdom to all the people over here. So let us really continue. And I have one appeal. I came up with this particular FDP is that I want to tell you all, we are the people who shape the narratives for our children. So let us really shape them in a way that we really bring back those days where there was a lot of what we can call human interaction and human love and compassion and empathy. So even if somebody is going to really write for children from now, I'm sure that we all definitely have to write a narrative which is going against the narrative which is put up right now. We have that all the researchers open here in my forum today who are writing for children and researching. We all are absolutely responsible for our children in the forthcoming years. So let us be responsible. And through this children's literature, we have to definitely make it a point that we write narratives which are actually bringing them closer to humanity anytime. So this is my appeal and urge to all the researchers here, also to future prospective writers who are writing for children anytime. Thank you so much. This is what I really would end my lecture with. Probably will be up for tomorrow. And yeah, tomorrow one bonus that I'm going to give you is I'll try to locate the Indian children's literature, because we don't have anything as such Indian children's literature. It's largely from that Panchatantra stories up till now. And one point I want everyone to really focus on, not many of the stories that have been using as case studies in this particular forum are from Indian narratives. Indians are yet to really catch up with all these things. One good thing, we don't have narratives like that for that matter, which are yet to come with respect to reading. But Western, I'm sure you all are reading it right now. They're completely cyborgs even now. So probably I'll try and trace it. Tomorrow I'll give you one particular slide only on the evaluation of Indian children's literature for that matter. If it is possible from my end. That is a bonus for tomorrow's session. See you all, and madam, can I disconnect? Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Good night.
See you all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.